Welcome to the Friday edition of Bible Time, and we've got two great Psalms to end our week with. Psalms 57 and 58, again, written by David. And Psalm 57 tells us the exact circumstances under which that psalm was written. He's hiding in a cave from Saul. That could be a reference to 1 Samuel 22, 1 Samuel 24. You might remember way back when we were doing 1 Samuel, and we talked about those times. And this gives us insight into the heart of David during those difficult times. He says that he's finding, he's taking refuge in the shadow of your wings. That's what he says to God. In the shadow of your wings, I'm taking refuge. That speaks of an unreserved reliance upon God. It speaks of a warm relationship with God. What he's doing in a time of trouble is turning to God, turning to the one he's closest to, turning to the one he knows he can find comfort in. And in verse 3, it talks about how he trusts in God's steadfast love. God will send out his steadfast love and his faithfulness. I'm counting on God and his faithfulness. Verse 5, he's focused on God's glory. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. That's where his focus is in a time of trouble. He's not focused on the trouble. He's not focused on Saul. He's focused on the steadfast love of the Lord and the glory of God, and he's finding refuge in that intimate, warm, close relationship that he has with the Lord. And so the chapter ends, the psalm ends with him praising God for his steadfast love and his glory. It says in verse 7, my heart is steadfast, O God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my glory, awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is great to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. Those words might sound very familiar to some of you. We used to sing a song that came right from this portion of Scripture. And I think it's helpful when you recognize the circumstances under which this psalm was written. David wrote some great psalms in caves when he was being persecuted. And this is the insight into his heart. What an example, what an encouragement for us. And then you look at Psalm 58, and you can see that David recognizes that there's a real need for divine justice, because human justice doesn't always quite cut it, does it? Does that sound familiar? Is that how you're feeling about the world in which we live in? That human justice is not right. It says in verse 1, do you indeed decree what is right, you gods? That's speaking of the people who are in authority, the human authorities, the ones who are supposed to be representing God to the people. It says, do you judge the children of man uprightly? No. In your hearts you devise wrongs. Your hands deal out violence on earth. We think that what we're experiencing today is something new. Not new at all. David was experiencing it 3,000 years ago. And so he recognizes, though, that that's not the way it's always going to be. God is going to judge ultimately, and God is going to judge swiftly. That's the point of verse 9. God is going to judge those who did not judge rightly, and he's going to judge them swiftly, and the righteous will rejoice. We're not necessarily rejoicing about the way justice is being handled here on earth right now, but we rejoice in the fact that God is righteous, God does what's right, God is just, and his justice will prevail, and we will rejoice. And surely, verse 11 says, there is a reward for the righteous. And so, again, our focus is drawn to God. We're not overly worked up by the circumstances of our day, because we know the end of the story, and we know that God wins. We know that his justice prevails. And so we're going to trust in his righteousness. We're going to trust in his steadfast love. We're going to praise his glory. We're going to look to God. And I would encourage you this weekend, Sunday night, 6 o'clock, we're going to have a prayer meeting at the church where we're going to look to the Lord, express our trust in him, and praise his glorious name. So I encourage you to come out and be a part of that. And I hope to see you Sunday morning and Sunday night at the church. God bless you, and have a great weekend.